What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Dynasty Mafia podcast. Happy Sunday. It's the last one of March. I can't even believe I'm already saying that. We're getting ready to get into April. We were just going over some March Madness. We had an amazing month for the NFL. Never a dull moment, that's for sure, what we are experiencing. But thanks for tuning in with us late this evening. Actually, we're 8:30. My time's been messed up on the computer all week. I have to adjust that, so I'm like an hour behind.
Daylight savings was like 2 weeks ago. You still
yeah, I gotta fix that, man. And if you heard the voice, you know who it is. If you're a regular, that's Keenan. What's going on tonight, buddy?
What's up, everyone? I'm hanging in there, man. It's been a crazy March, like you said. Unbelievable games in this tournament that's going on in NCAA. I'm rocking my Duke hat, but job's not done. Job's not done.
Well, you're happy so far. You're glad with what you've seen.
Job's not done. Job's not done.
Yeah.
Two more to go. But no, seriously, I put Duke aside. It's my favorite sports event of the year. I love watching teams like underdogs like St. Peter's. Is that their name? St. Peter's. It's awesome for those kids. We never were that lucky to play that type of level of basketball, and it's awesome to see the joy in all their faces when they win a game, and winning a round of 64 game is huge to them. And then it hurts to see not just Duke lose, but any team lose, because basketball's their lives, but like I said, it's been a great tournament. Duke's still alive. I'm happy about that, but I'm ready to dive into some fantasy football, man.
Yeah, I'm glad your sob story was done with Duke. I appreciate that. But if you listen to the last episode, it was actually 2 weeks ago. And, Keenan and I had some tickets to the tournament. It was here in Buffalo. We got to see some good games. Arkansas moved on. Providence moved on, a couple upsets. But I had a little injury, I guess, with my knee. And so I was being a little baby.
Listen, he wasn't.
I'm 30, and I'm old.
You weren't even on a court. You weren't even on the court.
I was in the court. They asked me to go play, and I got so excited.
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
I tripped, and I hurt my knee. So with that being said, we had to postpone it a week. So we are talking. Thankfully that kind of happened, because even more news went down. We have such a laundry list of players to go through with free agency happening. The last 2 weeks have just been absolutely insane. Obviously, nothing we've ever seen before. Russell Wilson moving, Deshaun Watson moving, Tom Brady coming back, multiple quarterbacks just on the way out of their old teams, and we're seeing young quarterbacks kind of fill it in, and then just some bridge quarterbacks. So there's a lot to go through, and I haven't even talked about running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. So with that being said, Keenan, I think we're going to get into it rather quick, if that's all right with you, because we're in for the long haul today.
Let's do it.
All right, my man. Let's do it. Yeah, I talked about a few things, like I just said, with Deshaun Watson being one of them. That's our biggest news. We're going to start with, we know it's happened a little over a week now, but he was traded to Cleveland, package of 3 firsts, a third, a fourth, a multitude of picks. But the big thing was 5-year, $230 million, and all of it's guaranteed. Keenan, how do you feel about that? All of it's guaranteed, man. Is he going to give you like 100,000 at least? Give me 100,000, like one of us. We'll split it. I'll even take 50. I wrote him a letter.
Yeah, he's not going to give us anything. But how do I feel about it? 230. That's a lot of money. But I mean,
most guaranteed by $80 million.
Yeah, let's set the off the field issues aside. He's worth every penny on the field. Great quarterback, top 5 probably when he's on the field. I don't know if he's going to come back when whatever happens off the field. If he's going to come back and be the Deshaun Watson that we're all accustomed to. But all I know is if I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, like I said, off the field crap, set that aside. If you're a fan of the Browns and NFL football, you got to be excited about this. But not only that, Amari Cooper. Whoa. Amari Cooper. Man, you go from listen, you talk about roller coaster rides. You go from Dak Prescott, He's a good quarterback, you know. Then you go to Baker Mayfield, you're like, crap, what the hell? It's probably the end of my career. And then you get Deshaun Watson. Come on. I'm a big Amari Cooper guy. He hasn't had that year where we're like, oh, wow, look at Amari Cooper, top 5 wide receiver. He's never even cracked top 12. But he's going into an offense where he's number one. No CeeDee Lamb, no Gallup. And it's probably, he's probably got a better quarterback than he had in Dallas. So I traded for him in a couple leagues last year. Wasn't as happy with the season that he had, but I'm pretty happy now. I think he could crack the top 12 list for sure this year.
I was going to actually ask you, so I'm glad you prefaced it, but my question would have been, is this his best quarterback he's had? Obviously, meaning, like you mentioned, Dak or Deshaun Watson, and I wholeheartedly agree with you.
I think Dak's a good quarterback, but I think he disappears at times.
Yeah, he's had some issues. I mean, he's definitely tried to become more consistent over the last year and a half. But, I mean, when you're throwing the ball nearly 40, 45 times a game, it's tough not to have a lot of stats. But, the thing with Amari Cooper is he had his most career touchdowns last year. So you just said, you were a little disappointed with him. He did play only 15 games, but he did have 8 touchdowns. He's only had 8 another time in his career. Other than that, he hasn't had it. Now, the thing, though, with DeAndre Hopkins, you got to look at is in 2015 when Watson got there, through 2019 when Hopkins left, 3 out of the 5 years, Hopkins had at least 11 or more. He had 11, 11, and 13 in those years.
Yeah.
And that's what matters to me. That's the big thing. You already said it, Keenan. Like, he's got nobody competing with him. Jarvis Landry's gone. Donovan Peoples-Jones, we like what we see in him, but, what's going to happen? Austin Hooper was kicked out, and they kept Njoku. So, they're not going to worry about 12 personnel.
The only thing that would hurt them is that backfield. And the type of offense.
That's going to hurt Amari?
That's in a type of offense.
But
if they want to feature Chubb and Hunt like they have in years past when they had Baker, that's going to hurt them. That's going to hurt Amari. Obviously, he's not going. If they're not throwing the ball 30 plus times and they're only throwing it 20 times and running it 40 plus times, that's a problem. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. You spent all this money to get Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper. You're going to want to feature them. And now, let's bring the off the field stuff back for a sec. A lot of Browns fans, at least what I've seen on Twitter, are not happy that their team went and got Deshaun Watson. And which, they're okay. That's okay. Just not be happy.
There's a lot of ethical decisions.
Yeah, but how are you going to make your fans happy? By featuring the 2 guys that you have and by winning games. And how do you win games? You win with Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper by throwing the ball. And I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to feature those 2 guys, and just like other athletes in the past, all the negative off the field stuff gets forgotten once you start winning games.
Yeah, it's a big thing. And the least amount of targets that Hopkins received a game with Watson, and I'm going to keep going back to that narrative because you're seeing him with a top wide receiver. That's what he gets. The last time we saw Deshaun Watson in the league 2 years ago, he led the league in passing, but he had Brandon Cooks. Cooks is great. We've seen it, but he is not a top 5 wide receiver. Maybe that's pushing it a little bit with Amari Cooper, but I am seeing him I'm seeing him in the 20s in dynasty startups. I am seeing him outside of wide receiver 1 in some potential redraft rankings. And I don't get that because Hopkins never had under 1,200 yards, never had under 8 targets a game. And he always I think he was always top 3 in target percentage for the team. He was usually right around 30%, if not higher. If Cooper could see 27% or more, you've already said it. They're going to throw the ball. They paid the man. So if he throws the ball 40 times a game and Cooper's going to see nearly a third of that, I mean, sign me up all day for 12 targets a game, 12, 13 for Amari Cooper. Odell Beckham talked about wanting to come back.
I don't think he will.
I wouldn't find that as a surprise, but we obviously know that was obviously all Baker was the big issue. But even so, I can see Cooper getting 10 to 12 targets a game for sure and coming from Deshaun Watson.
How can you bring him back? How do you go from getting rid of Odell Beckham Jr. and a couple months later deciding that Baker's the problem?
No, I'm saying so we know between Odell and Baker that it truly was Odell hated Baker. Like
Well,
we don't have to worry about that anymore. So now that he's
we know,
gone,
but we
the team moved on.
as a franchise, how do you go from getting rid of OBJ to a couple months later be like, okay, come on back, we got a different quarterback, you weren't the problem.
I don't know. Let's say you got a friend, right? You got a friend group. It's like that one friend that the friend of a friend. Let's say you don't talk to that friend anymore now, and the friend of that friend still thinks they can come around, but it's like, no, man, you're gone. That friend's gone, so you're gone. So how that looks out to be is, I think that Baker left, or I'm sorry, I messed it up. The friend of the friend can still come around because we're friends with them now. We're mutual. I think that person is Baker. Baker was gone. Everybody still liked Odell Beckham, but at that moment, the franchise had to choose between the wide receiver and the quarterback, and they got a better deal for the wide receiver. So now that Baker's gone, they are like, oh man, dude, Odell, we really love you, and if you're happy to come back, we don't have that problem that was a problem for you anymore. Why don't you come play with us and you can have a big upgrade?
Yeah, I can't see him coming back.
Yeah, I was surprised the Rams let him go. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes when we get to wide receivers.
Did they officially say they're not re-signing him?
No, I just, they made that decision to get Allen Robinson. Robert Woods is coming back.
I forgot they brought him back.
I'm sorry, Robert Woods is not back, but Allen Robinson came in. So we're going to talk about that when we get to the wide receivers. But that's our Deshaun Watson talk for right now. What do you think happens to Baker? Before we get onto that, we know Baker is most likely, Deshaun is most likely going to be suspended. Talks of 6 games, talks of 8 games.
Did you hear the report that they want to keep Baker for the time being until Deshaun Watson suspension is off?
So you and I were talking before this that Baker's got a dead cap of $19 million. Like, they're paying him $19 million to play, or if they cut him, they're paying him all that regardless. It's all guaranteed. So I hadn't said this prior, but yeah, what if that is the thought? Like, would Baker do that, do you think, to show that he can still do it and go to another team? I mean, if he brings a winning culture, I don't know.
It would be a Browns thing to do to bring him back. It would hurt them in the end because, it's just a distraction. Imagine him going to the podium and being like, and answering questions about him losing his job to Deshaun Watson, but it's still the starting quarterback until Deshaun Watson comes back from suspension. It would just be a distraction. But
it's like the Minshew and Lawrence,
But here's the thing with Baker, I don't know where this Baker hate came from all of a sudden. I think Tom Brady. I think Baker. I think he's I don't know, maybe a top 20 quarterback in the league. And there's a lot of teams that should trade for him. I'll start with the Giants, Daniel Jones. I'll start with Seattle. They have Drew Lock. How about let's see here. Who's Carolina have? Sam Darnold still?
I mean, do you consider that an upgrade though?
Who do Patriots have? Mac Jones? Yeah, I do. I consider that an upgrade.
I'm not a Baker fan. I haven't been.
I mean,
I think if you put him in the best situation for Baker, good defense, great run team, some star players around him to help. Unfortunately, I think that's what he had.
Antonio, when you have 4 head coaches and 5 offensive coordinators in your 5-year career, you're not gonna blossom into a great quarterback.
I think he's a poor man Kirk Cousins. I really do. Kirk Cousins has had multiple offensive coordinators. That's always been the downfall. Is Kirk's never had continuity. Same with Matt Ryan. But, we've seen Matt Ryan get to the Super Bowl, win the MVP, win an MVP.
Kirk Cousins puts up numbers.
But that's the thing he does. That's why he's a poor man. Baker's a poor man because his arm is not as strong as Kirk. He is an accurate quarterback, but that's about it. Maybe if you put him with Thielen and Jefferson, he could probably do some good work.
Another team. I'd rather have Baker than Kirk.
Hey, now that we're saying that, yeah, maybe Minnesota, that could be a had Kirk not signed an extension.
They locked them up.
Yeah, for another year. But I don't know. I think Baker's going to find a home somewhere. I don't think it's going to be a starter. I think he's going to have to compete for it. Seattle, Lord, I hope not, because I like DK, but
Tampa.
I mean, he might be something better than what we're dealing with right now.
Tampa.
Yeah.
Tom Brady
could be Tampa.
Yeah.
All right, let's move it on real quick with the quarterbacks. So we just talked about Matt Ryan.
Shove to Trubisky in Pittsburgh because
fine. We get Trubisky.
Because Baker's better than Trubisky.
Trubisky did sign in Pittsburgh, so maybe that he can compete with Trubisky. That's actually maybe not a bad spot for him either, because Deontay's just an amazing slot receiver. I think he's better than Jarvis, so that would be an upgrade for what Baker had to deal with.
I hope he signs in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Claypool, that's actually a good spot. Now that we're talking
he
about
signs there and then kicks them out of the playoffs. That'd be a great.
Yeah, it's a good run game, good defense, and some star players around him. That's kind of what we described him to be. All right, so Trubisky. With that being said, they chose him over Jimmy G. Like, they had an option to get Jimmy G, and they went with Trubisky. So that sounds to me like
let's step
he
back
might
for a
be their
second.
starter.
What the hell do the 49ers want for Jimmy G?
Yeah, it could be outlandish, like a first-round pick.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah,
because you look at his, win percentage. He's probably better than a few of the guys in the league, a few of the starters in the league, but I think they're asking for too much. Or teams are just calling their bluff and be like, all right, just cut them, and then we'll, compete in the open market.
Yeah, that could be it too.
But Trubisky, with that offense, is it an upgrade from Big Ben? And if it is, do you really think it hurts anyone?
I don't think it hurts anybody. I mean, we saw him a lot in Buffalo, right? We saw him a lot last year. So I think if anybody's best to judge him and how well he sits, it's us. But I think that he has a good opportunity to become what he was in Chicago. I mean, think about it. Chicago, he has an upgraded offense compared to what he had, but the defense is still very good. And with Chicago, he had that 11-win, 12-win season. I think the first year they had
made the playoffs twice.
So I think that's what Pittsburgh is hoping to bring in with it, is exactly what the Chicago Bears of 18 and 19 were.
And he won the Nickelodeon MVP.
Oh, that's that's something that Josh Allen couldn't say. I'm just saying, in the locker room, I heard there was tension.
Yeah, but I mean, we watched Big Ben, pretty much take a wheelchair out to the field every Sunday. He couldn't throw the ball past 5-10 yards. And this year, you got Trubisky. We've seen him, come in and when the Bills are blowing out, whoever, and Trubisky comes in and plays the fourth quarter, and they're still bombing the ball, and Trubisky's throwing it 20, 30, 40 yards on the field. He's definitely an upgrade from Big Ben from last year, and I think I think that's going to help Deontay Johnson the most. Where Deontay Johnson was just running goal routes, 5 yard in routes, and he was catching the ball and making people miss to get down the field. I think it's going to help Deontay Johnson a lot.
Yeah, I'm actually was looking at this earlier. I don't think I was looking over Deontay Johnson, but it was the yards after catch leaders.
Yeah.
And Deontay Johnson was one of them up there. And the guy's he's really good. Or I'm sorry, it was goodness, why am I blanking? It was yards per reception per route. He was one of the highest guys up there. So I was very, very happy to see that with Deontay Johnson. Yeah. I don't know if Trubisky's the guy to do it again. Inaccuracy is a big thing. But one more thing with Trubisky, when he was in Buffalo, that we were very happy when he signed him, because what did we see in Trubisky? We saw parts of Josh Allen. So I wonder how much he maybe observed and learned maybe from Josh Allen that's going to help him translate over to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But if they can see bringing that old Chicago back, I mean, Najee's foolproof. Najee's great. So it might wind up being a
did they do anything with that O-line?
Nah, not really. That's a problem. It's a crappy line. But that's also what Chicago had an issue with a few years ago. Yeah. So we'll see. I don't want to talk too much more about Trubisky, but I want to talk about Matt Ryan. For a few minutes. He was traded over to Indianapolis. Atlanta freed him. Arthur Blank, the owner of the Falcons, great guy. I mean, giving him the option of choosing where he wanted to go, even allowing them to repay him a few days later so they could trade him before that. Like, that was really cool. So with that being said, what do you think about Matt Ryan? We're going to talk about impact in the Colts, and then we're going to talk about Kyle Pitts. That's it.
He's not that much of an upgrade from Phillip Rivers 2 years ago. I don't know what the Colts are doing. I really don't. They have all this cap room. One, I think they had the most cap room in the league to start free agency.
Yep.
You have, one of the
Chiefs
best
now, but yes,
whatever. You have one of the best running backs, let's just say. You have, Pittman. I mean, he's probably not a, number one wide receiver, but he's pretty good young wide receiver. You have a good O-line. You have a decent defense. You have a good coach, offensive-minded coach. why aren't you in the market to get Deshaun Watson? Or why aren't you in the market to, I don't know, who else was out there this past year?
I mean, trading for Wilson, they were
Russell Wilson. Yeah, I mean, it just, what are you doing? Like, you went from Why am I mixing up all the quarterbacks? But you went from Philip Rivers to Carson Wentz to back to Philip Rivers, pretty much. Like I don't think Matt Ryan's great. I think he's past his prime. I think he's not going to really. He hasn't improved that offense at all.
So you and I actually see somewhat eye to eye, but for the most part, we do differ. I am actually a big fan of this. I'm a big fan of this move. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Take that drink, baby. Take that drink. I'm a big fan of this move for
a little bit of
when they missed out on the
s'mores.
sweepstakes. Oh yeah, what do you have?
S'mores.
Is it a beer? Oh, it's a beer with a stout. Oh man, interesting.
Yeah,
I've never been able to get into like beer mixes.
I'm not either.
Dark beer in general.
It was in my fridge. My neighbor brought it over, so I'm drinking. Got a drink.
But all right, I have those beers in the fridge. So with Matt Ryan, I'm a big Matt Ryan fan. Big Matt Ryan leap year lover. I just mentioned him always having different coordinators. I want to say this is now going to be I think is his 17th season. I think this will be his 14th different offensive coordinator. So that's quite the feat to have. But what does he do? He completes the damn ball. He gets 25 plus touchdowns, and yeah, he'll throw some interceptions here or there, but this is by far the best defense and offensive line he has ever had in his career. There is no comparison to it, and we have seen Matt Ryan be he's basically set the standard for consistency at the quarterback position over the last 15 plus years. He has never been amazing besides that MVP year, and he's never really been horrible at all. And we looked at the stats attributed to his offensive coordinator, where every other year when he was in the second year of his offensive coordinator, he had a top 6 quarterback fantasy year. I think this year he's going to get right into it. Frank Reich is a quarterback whisperer. I think Matt Ryan is someone he's been waiting for. He's an upgrade of Carson Wentz, in my opinion, and he's certainly an upgrade of Philip Rivers. I think they have a 2-year window. That's about it, though. I think there's 2 more years of Matt Ryan hitting that ability for 30 plus touchdowns.
Are you worried about his passing yardage that fell from 288 to 233?
No.
And then touchdown rate went down. His yards per attempt went down.
If you can tell me, Keenan, if you could tell me the third wide receiver that he would throw the ball to, I'll say yes. But can you tell me the third one? Because I'm sure you could list me 2. I know you can list me 1.
Well, I mean, Calvin Ridley. I mean, but he got
no. He didn't count.
Yeah,
don't count him. Sorry, X-Nay. So you got Pitts. I'll give you Pitts. Can you give me a second one?
The guy that just signed in Tampa.
Yep, Russell Gage.
Yeah.
And I'll give you those 2 names because I know you're not going to get a third one. That's my point, though.
No, there was another one. There's
definitely more. I mean, I know more names, but the fact is, like, he had nobodies. Like, he is now going to a Michael Pittman. They're probably going to keep T.Y. Hilton. They have very good players. I'm blanking on my boy, Paris Campbell. Hopefully he's going to come back healthy finally and do something. But Russell Gage got paid because of Matt Ryan. It's not vice versa. We got to remember that. And I think it's really good. I'm going to be honest. I think it's great. I think Matt Ryan's a very undervalued quarterback. He's going to be a sleeper for 2 quarterback leagues. Absolutely. Because I think he has a good shot to finish as a borderline quarterback 1. I have not worked out my stats or my rankings yet. A little too early for me, but
I think you're nuts.
I think I'm going to be nuts too when I actually work it all out. But I think for the Colts, it could actually be a really good freaking move.
I think in the end, this is going to help JT out.
Exactly. Yeah, you protect him, and he's never even think about that too. He's never really had a running back. Like Devonta Freeman was the best running back for him.
And he was running back one year. He was RB1.
He caught a crap ton of balls, but that was already 7 years ago. 7 years ago. Since then, he got Cordero Patterson. Like, come on, Todd Gurley when
Patterson had a great year. Don't start that.
He did, but that's my point. He can still lift other people up to do well. I want to say Russell Gage was like a top 12 wide receiver to end the last 5 or 6 weeks.
Let me guess. You'd rather have Ryan over Trubisky?
I would definitely rather have Ryan over Trubisky.
What about Ryan over Jimmy G?
Jimmy G with the 49ers?
No, Jimmy G with the Colts. If the Colts traded for Jimmy G.
So I would probably take Jimmy G because I think they both offer the same thing. Limited turnover. I mean, Matt Ryan threw a lot of turnovers in Atlanta. I think now that you give him a line and defense, you might see a 7, 8, 9 interception type season from him, which is what they're looking for. And he doesn't fumble very often. I don't know. I think we'll obviously see a lot more with Matt Ryan as we move along, but I can promise you he's going to be underrated. One more note here. Two more. While we're talking Falcons,
let's talk about your Falcons. Let's talk about your Falcons. I know you're a big Falcons guy. You know who's their quarterback?
So they signed Marcus Mariota.
I will let you talk about Kyle Pitts now.
Yeah, well, I want to talk to you about Kyle Pitts. So startup right now. Who's your tight end one?
Probably Kelsey.
You're still with Kelsey?
Yeah,
the 32 doesn't bother you?
No, I don't. I mean, it bothers me a little bit, but I mean, yeah, I don't know.
I guess would it be Pitts?
Probably Pitts, but like, I can't see him having a better year than Kelsey this year.
Fair. That's very fair. Yeah. But that's where you're getting the 10-year age gap. And you're kind of
probably Pitts.
It would depend on who.
Because they're going to draft either a quarterback this year or next year. Because they're in full rebuild mode right now. They're clearing the cap. You got Ryan off that. They got rid of Ryan's contract for the most part, besides the $50 million in dead cap and dead money. But so they're either going to go. They're going to get a quarterback eventually in a draft. So I don't see Pitts leaving Atlanta anytime soon. They're going to use Pitts as a building block for the rest of that offense.
I'm hoping that
this might hurt somebody. This might hurt Pitts' numbers, your career numbers, your projections.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see. I did hit the nail pretty close last year. Besides the touchdowns, I was pretty close on receptions and yards for his projections.
He still doesn't have a touchdown in the United States yet.
That's all going to change, man. You know who Mariota was a fan of in Tennessee? Delaney Walker. Do you want to know who Mariota's – I jumped out of it real quick. Give me 1 second. Do you know who Mariota's tight end coach was and then his offensive coordinator was when he was in Tennessee?
Antonio, I have no idea.
It is his current head coach, Arthur Smith.
Well, am I supposed to be? Am I supposed to, love this?
I'm just saying. I think you're right. They're going to draft a quarterback, but this is the reason they got Mariota. This was their plan.
Or they got Mariota, because they have $40 million in dead money, and Mariota came cheap.
Well, they too, but they could have traded for other like they could have got Case Keenum. They could have brought his butt in and just brought him to throw for a year if that's all they're trying to do to just tank. But no, I think that Mariota is coming in because he's someone that can offer the offense that they wanted to run. I think Matt Ryan tried to run that offense, but I watched way too many Falcons games last year because of my love for Kyle Pitts. And it was painful. I'm going to be honest. The first 8 games of Kyle Pitts' career was absolutely horrible. You look at the last 9 games now. I mean, you saw a totally different player, someone on pace for like 1,800 receiving yards. It was insane. But that's what happened when they were able to connect and the offense started clicking more because it was Arthur Smith's new offense.
They're gonna feature him because they have no one else to feature. So
I think Pitts still has to be number one for you. I think he set himself a floor, right? I think after we all saw what Kyle Pitts did now, he is at a floor of potentially 750, 800 yards. We saw a floor of touchdowns, unfortunately, but I think that's got to positively regress.
Yeah.
But I think 800, 850 yards, like that's something Kyle Pitts will continue to get every season. And there are only 3 or 4 tight ends right now you can say that about, and those are the elite tight ends. All right, so let's move on because there's really nothing much more. They got Cordero Patterson coming back in Atlanta. They need to add pieces, man. They need to. I hope they can get themselves together.
Let's run through these. Mention Stafford.
Stafford. He signed that long-term contract, so he'll be a Ram forever. Cooper Kupp gets to get stuck with Stafford, so Cooper's going to be great for a long freaking time.
Unless he gets traded, if they don't pay him.
Oh, stop! All right, the running backs. A bit happened. I'm gonna run through them, and then we're just going to talk about a few. Okay, so James Conner is now the lone man here in Arizona because Chase Edmonds went over to Miami. Raheem Mostert joined Chase Edmonds in Miami. Leonard Fournette re-signed with Tampa Bay. Cordell Patterson, as we mentioned, with Atlanta. Rashad Penny with Seattle. J.D. McKissick with Washington after he was originally going to go to Buffalo. And then a couple new spots, Rojo.
That's the only one I want to talk
Jones.
about. That's the only one I want to talk about on the list. That's
Ronald Jones signed with Kansas City,
Yeah.
and Duke Johnson went to Buffalo. So Ronald Jones, you want to start with?
Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago, people like me, who drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, thought we were getting the next CMC, and here we are. We get 1 year, we get Le'Veon Bell. The next year, we get LaShawn McCoy in the backfield. Who did they have last year? One of the Williams brothers that they had for the last 5 years, and now they bring in Rojo, who is one of the most underrated running backs in the league. You want to know why? Because Tampa Bay didn't use him. You want to know why? Because they hated him, and he's going to steal that number one spot from Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So it really made me mad when I saw that come in. Even though I don't have many shares of Clyde Edwards-Helaire anymore, thankfully I moved them. But seriously though, they signed a 1 year deal, but a lot of it was it wasn't all guaranteed, was it? It was like you have to.
So it was. I believe it was $3 million for the base, and then almost $2 million in incentives.
Yeah. So you know what that's
almost half almost half the contracts.
But you know what that tells you, right?
Yep. I got to be
when you're discussing these contracts, you're not like, oh, okay, I'll take half the money, but you're not going to use me, so I won't get the other half. They're going to use him so he could get his, the other half of his contract.
I think the big thing is the issue that he had in Tampa Bay was pass blocking, third down. Yeah. And, they brought Fournette in. Fournette was really good at that. He was able to play all three downs. And I think he's improved on that, but Fournette's really good, man. So now you bring him into Kansas City, and that's something that CEH has always struggled with, playing in on third downs, because he's not very good at pass blocking. Rookies always struggle with that, and he's a little guy, big linebackers. So I think that's something for Rojo that's able to come in for, and he's a better pass catching back. So I agree with you there, and he's fast. He's fast as hell.
I could see him having a great year, and then re-signing him to a longer deal. Rojo.
That's my only. So they have. So this year they have until May. No, CH was drafted in the first. Yeah. So after this season, they got to decide before. So just over a year from now, they got to decide if they're going to pick up CH's fifth year option.
Which they should, right? Still on a rookie deal contract.
So what it'll be is, I think his contract will jump a lot. That's the only problem. So if they find a replacement and they just start churning out running backs every 4 years, which other teams have done that. Once you satisfy your quarterback,
man, they probably regret that first round pick, huh?
I don't know. We'll see if he can make a leap, man. I don't know. Maybe this will give him a little extra fire to get him to start moving, because he had characteristics, he had traits that proved to be good. I don't know what's going on so far.
Yeah. Let's jump to James Conner here. What do you think about that? There's no Edmonds there. There's not really a competition anymore, and who knows what the hell Arizona's doing, if they're going to resign Kyler or what. But I think James Conner's value just skyrocketed now that he's the only running back there.
He finished as RB5, and
he did.
He finished as RB5.
Wow. So
you're getting now an RB5 who was in a timeshare. He only had, I can't say only, but he had 239 touches. That's still a good amount. But for a guy that was in a timeshare, they're going to bring somebody else in, or they're going to draft somebody. That's not somebody of Chase Edmonds' caliber. And I'm not overstating that Chase Edmonds is like an amazing, go-getter, but I was a big fan of him. He's able to catch the ball. He's very fast. He's elusive as hell in the backfield. So I think Miami might have some good things to do, especially
two number one running backs in that move. Because you got James Conner and Chase Edmonds on two different teams. Now you got two.
Oh yeah,
two running backs in fantasy now that they'll have some value.
That's true. Yeah, if you had him as a handcuff, that's a good point. So I think that with James Conner, I'm uncomfortable saying it, but I think you're looking at a top 10 back, no doubt.
Why are you uncomfortable saying that?
It's just so tough telling myself to trust James Conner in a different position right now. I don't know why. Like, I loved him in Pittsburgh. And he's 26, which is a very prime age for running backs. But his yards per attempt was 3.7 last year, so that was a little scary. And he had 15 touchdowns.
So his touchdown depended.
Exactly. Like, he had a lot. I mean, he has the touches. He's going to continue to get the touches. But Kenyon Drake, don't forget Kenyon Drake, right? 2 years ago.
Where's he now?
he got signed by the Raiders, and worried everybody about.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Kenyon Drake had 8 to 10 touchdowns in that last 8 games.
That was
And
nuts.
he was crazy, right? So that's why I think Arizona is just a touchdown machine when it comes to running backs. So with that being said, touchdown dependent or not, James Conner is someone you're probably going to want.
Even if he goes,
I just don't think the value is where I'm going to take him.
Yeah, I think people are going to reach because now I had no idea he finished top 5 last year, but I think people are going to reach for him. But this might be a running back where you sell high on. Like, hey,
do people feel that way though? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, he had 18 total touchdowns because three receiving.
He had 18 total touchdowns last year. That is nuts.
Yeah.
So
he had a good year.
I didn't know
he was second or third in running backs.
But so, yeah, I think you have to try to sell high on him, just because you got to use that to your advantage when you're discussing trades.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and he's 26. Yeah. Like, you can't say that he's old.
26 years old. He had 18 touchdowns. Finished RB5. No more timeshare. One more. That sounds like a first-round pick to me. Coming to me. If I had James Conner.
I forgot. Just a quick side note. I forgot Damian Harris had 15 rushing touchdowns last year.
Yeah,
that's funny because that's what I was thinking of when I was talking about Arizona potentially just being a touchdown chugging for running backs. That's what I always remember New England being, right? They had Garrett Blount that one year. They got so many touchdowns. You're seeing Damian Harris get his rotation. I don't even remember anybody else, but you had Jarvis Green-Ellis, like all these guys that have come up over the years that have just gotten touchdowns after touchdowns with New England. And I don't know. James Conner is going to be drafted as a top 10 back, most likely. Like, there's probably no ways around that. Unless they add another player of a good backup caliber. Like, could I see them adding someone like a Tariq Cohen?
That still doesn't. I don't think that hurts his value.
It wouldn't. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's somebody that I think they're probably going to pick up because someone like Tariq Cohen who can play on third down, who's faster. Because
the only thing that hurts his value is if they draft someone at this point.
Yeah, if they bring somebody in that shows a little more. But that deals. I have to double check that contract. But James Conner is going to be there for a little while. We just talked about Chase Edmonds with Arizona. I think that's the only other person I'd like to talk about among this that I think is noteworthy. Fournette, he finished 6th last year. Had a career year last year. Also was 26 years old. Before I talk about Chase Edmonds, Leonard Fournette, is that somebody you're believing in? Now that Brady's back?
Playoff Lenny? Absolutely. Or is it what they call him, playoff Lenny? And
dude, he's gotten everything, Lenny.
Yeah, it's funny.
I don't even know.
But yeah, I mean, top 10 back, right? Got to be in that offense. Tom Brady's back. No more Rojo.
That's the hope. I expect again they're going to bring somebody in probably to help him out. Brady loves his multiples, but yeah, Leonard Fournette.
He loves Fournette though.
Yeah, he does.
He really does. He's like his Gronk running back, where he's just old reliable, I guess. But even though he's only been with him for a couple years, but it's funny how he used New England for leverage to get.
Would you? Oh yeah, because he was.
Get a deal.
Well, a 3-year deal. I mean, that's something. He's going to be there for a little while. Had a career high 4.5 yards per carry, 8 rushing touchdowns, two receiving touchdowns. The guy had 69 catches. Keenan, 69 catches. Like, I think he was like top 5.
How old is he?
He's 26, I believe.
27.
27. So, would you rather have James Conner or Leonard Fournette?
Fournette.
Wow, you said that with conviction.
Well, I mean, we just talked about James Conner being touchdown dependent, and we just talked about Fournette having how many catches?
69, but 69, Edmonds has a good amount, and Conner had 37, so I'd imagine Conner's going to be closer to 50. But the thing I'd actually side Conner there because of the fact that Fournette probably won't have a quarterback next year.
We don't know that.
You seem pretty convinced Brady's going somewhere else.
That's a conspiracy theory for another day. He's going to Miami. They're calling it right now. This year or next year. It's
this year or
next
year.
Next year.
Not even just next year. You're saying this year.
I could see it happening this year. I really could.
Written down. I
I really could see it this year happening.
Ugh.
I have a huge conspiracy theory. I've been thinking about this for a while.
Do you want to hold off or you want to share it now?
He retired because he thought they were going to release him, and then he was going to unretire so he could go sign wherever. Initially, he probably wanted to go to 49ers, but now with all the free agency dust settling, he wants to go to Miami, especially with Tyreek Hill there now. So now he unretired, went back. Now he's back in the building. Now he's going to try to push his way out. I don't know how he's going to do it, or he'll play another year in Tampa and then he'll finish his career off in Miami. Why would you relocate your family all the way to the other side of the country? Or you could just go play Miami, a little down south of Florida. I think it's going to happen. I'm not happy as a Bills fan. I'm scared.
As you should be.
I
hope you're wrong.
I hope I'm wrong too.
Man, we're going to definitely talk about that.
The stuff I've been seeing on Twitter, it's a little. Let's jump to these wide receivers, man.
Yeah, let's get to.
I don't care about J.D. McKissick. I don't care about Rashad Penny. I don't care about.
Oh, well, no. Don't see. You're pushing me. I want to talk about Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert just for a quick moment because Chase Edmonds 2-year, $12.5 million. I was intrigued by that because now see you're making me lose my thought here. So their new head quarterback Mike was the old offensive coordinator of San Francisco, or no, quality assistant, one of the things, right? But apparently he's been involved with the offense a lot. So he's now gone over to become the head coach here in Miami. Now they have Raheem Mostert, who they had in San Francisco. They're bringing in Chase Edmonds, who's nothing but speed. What did San Francisco had? Speed. They had a lot of zone blocking and speed. They were very good at that. I think that's what they're trying to implement in Miami. They have, this obviously is going to lead us to Tyreek Hill, who they traded for, as you know, and they have Jalen Waddle, who they just drafted. So there is nothing but speed. I think Miami is going to be a very challenging team for Buffalo in the AFC East. I will be honest with you. But let's move over to that, as you were just saying, because, before we do that, Chase Edmonds, I know I'm moving fast here, guys. I apologize, but you don't care about Chase Edmonds or Mostert at all? Edmonds is 26.
I don't care about that because they got Tyreek Hill and Waddle. That's what I care about.
Yeah, I do find it tough to judge what's going to happen because now you have two pass catching running backs. You have two wide receivers who can run out of the slot,
and you have
and can run the ball,
and you have a wide receiver you have a
running quarterback.
Quarterback doesn't like to throw it past 10 yards.
Well, that's necessarily that'd be good for the running backs.
That'd be good for running backs, but you got all four of them running 10-yard routes.
Yeah,
it's going to hurt someone, but I mean. Just like James Conner, isn't Chase Edmonds more of a sell high right now? You got to use
probably because you got a feature, feature role.
You got to also use the new offense that Miami's trying to put out there to your advantage. What would you give up for Chase Edmonds right now? A second?
Yeah, I probably would do that.
What about a first? Late first?
No. That's too much.
Yeah,
I would do a second right now with how things might be shaping up.
So you would give up a 2-1, but wouldn't give up a 1-10?
No, it'd probably have to be like a middle second.
Okay. See, that's different. That's different.
Yeah. All right. So Miami. We just talked about Tyreek. What the hell?
I don't know.
In a matter of 2 hours, if you shut your phone off, turn it back on, Tyreek went from being a Chief to a Dolphin.
I didn't believe it.
Like it was nothing.
Yeah. Just like it was some backup wide receiver. Here you go. Why don't you take this? But what the hell? Like you said, what are the Chiefs doing? 1. 2, I think fantasy-wise, this is going to be great for both teams. I think Juju's value goes up. I think Waddle's value goes up. I get Tua's value goes up. Gesicki's value goes up. Kelsey's value goes up. Hill's value goes up. I think all their values go up. It doesn't hurt anyone, not one person, because it's you're going to see a Miami team that's going to come out with a whole different offense. And I think Tua, I'm not a Tua guy. Whatever.
I know I was just about to say.
I'm not a Tua guy.
You're flipping it here.
I'm not a Tua guy, but I think this helps Tua. And if he doesn't like to throw it down the field, I think this helps all the wide receivers because it's all going to be yards after catch. Look what Debo did at yards after catch last year.
So yes, he led the league by an onslaught. Like he's amazing at that. And Tyreek Hill's going to start doing that as well. I was, doing some research earlier today, and the last 3 years, Tyreek Hill has gone down in yards per catch, yards per reception.
Well, because you have seven wide receivers and a massive tight end.
Well, right, but that generally wouldn't matter if he's running the same amount of routes.
I mean, when you're
catches, but
when you're
he went. But the way they've done it with him is what's been crazy to me. Keenan. So he went from 10.1. He usually gets over 10 to 9.7 to 7.2. Or I'm sorry, that was I apologize. I had a few different stats. That was his yards before catch per. Oh yeah, that was. Tyreek's got so many good stats, dude. Yeah, his yards per receptions went down. He was actually at like 10.7 last year, but his yards before catch per route, per reception, right? So that's what the issue was. 7.2 last year. So he was running 7 yards and then got a catch, as opposed to normally it was over 9, it was over 10, it was over 11. So he wasn't running as far routes, but that's also the miracle when he went from 87 catches to 111 catches from 2021 to 2022. So that's what I think is Miami's going to do with him. I think Tyreek Hill's locked for 100 catches, but he also had less yards in 2020 than he did in 2021. That's the thing.
Sam Moore this year.
So he had 24 more catches, but he had
year.
38 less yards.
Sam Moore.
I hear you.
We talked about when this trade happened. We talked about you and I discussed it for maybe 5 minutes, but because it was such a hard. We couldn't grasp our mind around it. Like, when does a wide receiver at this caliber get traded? Out of nowhere. Usually it's like, oh, there's drama, he doesn't want to be here, contract issues, blah, blah, blah. But in the last 2 weeks, you got Davante Adams and freaking Tyreek Hill getting traded out of nowhere. And now, who's your wide receiver one? Is it Davante Adams? Is it Cooper Kupp? Is it Tyreek Hill? I think there's a lot of questions to be answered in the fantasy aspect. And when we talked about it, we really couldn't even give each other a top 3.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre right now. Is Cooper Kupp's number 1 for both of us, right?
Maybe.
Chase?
Yeah.
Really?
It's between those two for me.
Okay, so you got 1, 2.
Because
you got 1A and 1B. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, now who's 3?
It might have to be CeeDee Lamb.
What about Jefferson?
He'd probably be right there 4.
Okay, so so now Adams and Hill, who were 1 and 2 last year, are dropping out of the top 5.
And do you know the big reasons why for me? Touchdowns.
Yeah.
Davante Adams, you guaranteed 12+ touchdowns every year. Tyreek Hill, double-digit touchdowns.
Hold on. So you're not guaranteeing 12 touchdowns with Carr at quarterback?
I think it's possible. Double-digit touchdowns is certainly possible. We saw who was it?
I'm sorry that we're jumping from Davante Adams to Hill, but
yes.
I feel like they kind of go.
Because that's the thing. The Tyreek Hill thing happened because of Davante Adams. Yeah. Tyreek Hill saw Davante Adams' contract, said, "I want to get paid more too." Kansas City said, "Go fly a kite. We'll trade you," and that's what happened. That's literally what happened. So
he's flying a $1 million kite.
Yeah, he's definitely flying that kite all the way down to Miami. And he's probably laughing the whole way that he's doing it because he's getting what he wants. He's going to get paid. I don't know if he wants the arm he's going to have, but he's going to go from a right-handed quarterback to a left-handed quarterback. That's going to be a big adjustment. But I think that, even now it's just so tough to talk about because I put a poll out on what's people's current reaction on Tyreek Hill's status. Top 3, top 12.
I thought top 24 was leading for a while.
Top 20, yeah. Top 12 wound up winning 57%, but top 24 was leading for a bit, and it wound up being
I thought that was crazy,
300-400 votes, and yeah, I was very surprised. But nobody basically had him in their top 3. Nobody thinks it's a better situation for him, even though he could run the ball more. He still is going to get over 100 catches. You want to know what else is interesting? Last year, Tyreek Hill, his stats: 159 targets, 111 catches, 1,239 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Similar player, 140 targets, 104 catches, 1,015 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Any idea who that player was?
I have no idea.
Jalen Waddle.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't want. I thought
very identical stats. Waddle also had 5 less yards after the catch than Hill last year. He was 19th in the league as wide receivers, and Hill was 17th. I don't find that a coincidence at all that they have both of them now. Like I said at the beginning of this rant, speed. That's all they're going to do. Yards after catch, short passes, Deebo Samuel type players, and they don't need a quarterback to be able to throw the ball 40 yards down the field to do that. Like Tua doesn't have to excel at deep passes. I think we talked about Miami for a lot. Do you have anything to cover it up here?
No.
Well, actually, I'm sorry. I do want to ask Tyreek Hill or Amari Cooper?
Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's just a special talent, I think. And it's if you're trading that many picks and then you're giving up that much money, you're gonna do everything you can to make sure you don't look stupid. And I think I just think Tyreek Hill. It doesn't matter if he catches the ball 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage, 20 yards down the field, 50 yards down the field. He has a chance to break it for a touchdown. We all saw in the play.
You talked about Jalen Waddle also getting an increase from this move, but could you see Jalen Waddle getting 140 targets again?
No, I just think it helps Waddle. I think it helps Waddle like when it comes to yards and touchdowns.
Yeah, like that's what I was going to come in with because he had 9.8 yards per catch last year, and that was the lowest among the top 38 wide receivers.
Not gonna lie, watching I think it was the second Bills Miami game, and Waddle I think he had like 10 plus catches. Yeah, that's gonna be scary with Hill and Waddle. It's gonna be scary.
That's where I kind of come into like that's where part of me is thinking like I understand Tyreek Hill's getting all this money, but I also think money causes more than just the stats.
Yeah.
Right? Like he can come in, but if they're winning, nobody gives a crap what's going on. So if Tyreek Hill can come in and get his 8 to 10 targets, Waddle gets 6 to 8 targets, and they're both producing, and on either side of the field you can do whatever you want and screw with the defenses. I don't know. That's what I think they're looking for. Let's hope that that's the case here. So we're going to move up a little bit because we're coming up on an hour, but we really just have a few more wide receivers and tight ends.
Let's talk about Adams here real quick.
The player we've been talking about.
Name me his top 5 wide receivers from last year.
Who? Derek Carr's?
Yeah.
So I want to say the person that had the most catches was, I believe, Hunter Renfrow had 100 catches.
Yeah.
I think I could be wrong. Darren Waller got injured, but he was there. Zay Jones performed all right.
236 yards.
Yeah, he didn't do too much.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for a Bryan Edwards breakout.
446. He was 4th on the list.
Yeah, and was Ruggs there?
Ruggs was second on the list. Yeah. So Renfrow led with 658 receiving yards last year.
Yeah, so they get him a player like Davante Adams, who he had in college at Fresno State. They get reconnected. Apparently, Adams really wanted to play with him. So, I think this really hurts Waller. I have seen people who have thought it's very helpful. Still,
I think it's. I mean, if they can do what Kelsey and Hill did,
yeah. If they concentrate everything to the two of them, which I'm sure is the plan, but I don't know if I can see Waller even sniffing 100 targets.
You know who starts. You know who this hurts the most. Josh Jacob owners.
You think so?
Yeah. You're not going to try to run the ball at all. He does. You have a gunslinger. You're not. But here's the thing, Antonio. He's on his last year of his deal. So
that too.
In the end, it's going to be. They're just going to let him walk because they won't be able to pay him. So it depends where he goes. But I think in this year, if you're a Josh Jacobs owner, the value is just not there.
Yeah, and you can't really get rid of him.
No, because you're not going to get what you want to get for a 24-year-old running back who was drafted in the first round. But let's finish up here, Adams. I think he has a double-digit touchdowns this year. It's his best. It's Carr's best wide receiver by a long shot. It's not even close. Look what happened here in Buffalo once you got Diggs and Allen together. Complete different quarterback.
And I like Derek Carr. Like, he's shown his ability. Didn't he lead the league in passing yards or something like 5 years ago? That somewhat MVP year before he was injured. Or no, he was starting to do it this year, but he did really well back then as also. Yeah, if he throws it like that, you're right. I mean, double-digit touchdowns is probably going to happen. And we're all looking, and we're dumb here, and Adams should still be a top 3 wide receiver.
Yeah, I'm thinking I think Hill and Adams are both top 5.
Yeah, right now, the way I look at it, if there's any wide receivers I can see sniffing 10 touchdowns and 100 catches, that's where I think you're hoping Adams gets, but that's where I'm already seeing 4 or 5 other wide receivers doing. Yeah. That's why I think I'm there.
All right. Let's
jump
to Juju here.
Hold on, Adams or Jefferson? Or I'm sorry,
Adams.
Adams or Jefferson.
I'll take Adams.
What about Adams or Diggs?
Diggs, just because he has a better quarterback, I guess. But actually, they have a new OC. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. That's a tough one.
Diggs' stat line.
You're not going to go wrong with either of them.
Yeah, I think Diggs' stat line last year is what I think Davante Adams can max out with Carr, which I could be wrong, but it was 164 targets, 103 catches, 1,225 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Yeah, I feel like for me, that's what Adams can max out at with Carr.
It's a good season.
I don't know. It's tough for me to kind of think that Adams is still going to get 1,512 because then if he's doing all that when he did it with Rodgers, doesn't that question Rodgers a bit? Because what the hell are they going to do?
What the hell are they going to do?
And that's a conversation for a different day right now because I want to move over to Kansas City because he created a domino. Davante Adams did making these moves because, like I said, Tyreek Hill started moving. Kansas City moved Tyreek Hill, which created an opening to bring in Juju Smith-Schuster. Marquez Valdes-Scantling was let go of Green Bay because Davante Adams was there. Now Marquez.
He was clocked the second fastest wide receiver last year.
That he was. Marquez Valdes-Scantling signing with Kansas City, 3-year, $36 million. Who was number 1, Keenan?
Hill.
Tyreek Hill. So it sounds like right now, thank you, the Chiefs are assuming that MVS will be that Tyreek Hill-esque player.
I hope they think that.
I'm not saying
I hope they think that. I don't want them drafting Williams out of Alabama.
Yeah, that's my big fear, man. They've got 2 picks in the first round. They can do whatever the hell they want. They can probably trade up to wherever the hell they want. I truly believe they're getting a wide receiver.
They are.
But maybe they decide MVS, Kelsey, and Juju are the people, and then they draft defensively. But
whoever goes there will be the first round pick in Dynasty.
Yeah, probably. I'm amazed though, Keenan, that Juju was only signed for $3.5 million.
Teams hate him.
But 3.5 like that. But that's what scares me with Kansas City is like, are you going to use him then? Like MVS got $33 million more dollars than him.
Ooh, I didn't even think about that.
$33 million more dollars than he did.
Wow, that is amazing.
So like, I that's why like he signed. I was ecstatic. I was beyond happy for all of my freaking Juju shares that I've been holding on to. And then I see the contract, and then I saw MVS, and then I'm like,
"You think he's upset?"
I think he's banking on himself because he signed a 1-year contract last year. He signed a 1-year contract again. He's only 25. I hate the people out there, the narrative that people think Juju's washed up. Like, you're crazy. He had a 1,400-yard season.
Was it last year? 2 years ago?
No, it was like 3 or 4 years ago in his second year.
Why.
But like,
that's why.
But he had Big Ben injuries. He had injuries himself. It's been 2 seasons since he was doing really well.
You know what they say? It's a what have you done for me lately business.
Yeah. Well, for me. I'm going to try and take advantage of those people.
You should. You should be buying low on him right now.
Yeah, but even with Byron Pringle still there, McCall Hardman's still there. I think Pringle's still there.
Would you get the late second for him?
Juju all day.
first.
all day. No, because
See?
the value's not there. That's why.
See, and that's where you're getting
like-
trouble.
Like my mind, I think he's worth it all day, but unfortunately, I don't. If like you just said, if Kansas City goes to draft a wide receiver, like we're also thinking, I mean, Juju can be what he wants all day, but he's dead. He's probably the third choice,
second.
even over the rookie.
I think over MVS.
I hope so.
As much as they paid him, I think they still want Juju to.
Yeah, he's more talented. Like MVS just ran a lot of go routes in Green Bay.
Yeah, I don't think
Like,
he's good. I don't think he's good.
Not to be mean, like the amount of touchdowns that dude dropped,
Yeah,
like ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Mahomes can deal with that. And you can't really say he's getting a more accurate quarterback.
Christian Kirk got paid.
Christian Kirk got paid. That's another good one there. 3 years, $36 million as well, right?
Just like
No, I'm sorry, no.
4 years, 72.
5 year, $80 million. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, both those. I think. I like Christian Kirk, but he's not worth that. Same thing with MVS. I don't think he's worth the money that he got. Either.
I think they had the money to spend. Like I said, Kansas City now has the most money, so they have the most money, the best quarterback, 2 first-round picks. Think about that for a second.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Travis Kelce, we talked real quick. 32 years old, so you're not worried about him. We kind of talked earlier.
I think he still has. I think he's still another year or two. Yeah. I do. I. You know what they say about superstars? Their cliff doesn't, hit as sharp as other average NFL players. So I think I still think he has a year or two.
Yeah, I agree with that. And one last thing too, I forgot to mention with Adams, Devontae. I kind of fully get why he did what he did. In the 8 years that he was in Green Bay, he made $61 million. He just got $65 million guaranteed from Vegas in his contract.
Yeah.
So he's already made more by signing paper before he's even played a snap for Vegas than the 8 years he played with Green Bay. So I kind of get it, man. You got to get yourself sometimes.
That's because Rodgers is selfish.
It's crazy, man. I'm very surprised that happened. When you told me that happened, like we were talking about being wild with Tyreek, I was wild with.
Oh yeah, you were. We were at the arena watching college basketball, and you're freaking out.
I wouldn't shut up about it. I just couldn't believe it. So yeah, Christian Kirk definitely got overpaid, but he's quick as hell. We liked him a couple years ago on the pod for breaking out in Arizona. Maybe this is a chance. He gives, Lawrence gets someone younger and quicker, and we'll see what he can do. But right now, I would probably be giving around a mid-second, early second for Kirk.
Really?
The guy's it's targets, man. Opportunity is there for Christian Kirk. You're talking 120 plus targets. So if he can bring in 70 of those, and he's a guy that can average 12 to 13 yards a catch.
So you're giving up a second or third for Kirk. What are you getting up for Robinson and Woods? Allen Robinson and Robert Woods.
So moving us from Christian. Well, while we're talking a little about Christian Kirk, Allen Robinson signed with the Rams. He's now going to be their number 2 because Robert Woods, more dominoes falling. Robert Woods left and he got traded to Tennessee because they cut Julio. I mean, can you guys follow it with me here?
I totally forgot that they even had Julio.
Yeah, man, it's a lot of dominoes falling. So Julio gets cut from Tennessee. So Robert Woods gets traded to Tennessee. Allen Robinson picked up by the Rams. Odell Beckham, we're going to see what he's doing. I would take Kirk over Allen Robinson.
Really?
Saying that right now in March, I think. But it's also because I fully expect them to add somebody else. Unless they're finally believing in Van Jefferson. I've been waiting for that. I like Van Jefferson.
But how's that hurt? How's that hurt Robinson?
If they don't add anybody else, I like it. I think if you don't add somebody else, Allen Robinson, sure in for 100 targets. Like all day, I think he's going to get 100 because that's what Stafford does. He concentrates. It's among two players. He's done that since his days in the Lions when he had Kelvin Johnson and Golden Tate. So that's why I believe he's going to.
I really like that signing, by the way.
I love it too. Like the more I'm talking about it, I hated it when it first happened. I didn't get it. But the more I'm thinking about it, like, all right, I kind of see it more because Kupp loves the slot. Like he's really, really good in the slot. And as great as Robert Woods is on the outside, he's an undersized outside receiver.
Let's just say this is Allen Robinson's best quarterback.
Yeah, he's still had a quiet 1,000 yards the last 2 years, right? Like
I don't know about last year.
Or not last year, no, but 2 years ago he's had it 2 years ago. Trubisky was one of those quarterbacks. So I think you're right. Like he might wind up being a sleeper. A second round pick for Robinson?
I'll all day. I think that's why I was wondering if you're valuing Robinson, Robert Woods, and Kirk at the same level. Because to me, I wanted Christian Kirk to sign with the Bills because of his speed, but I don't think he's proven anything fantasy wise. Where, yeah, he does get targets or whatnot, but he still doesn't do anything for me. Where I think Allen Robinson, with a good quarterback, a good offense, I think he's a top 20 wide receiver.
He certainly can, but I think Kirk's also top 20, and then you're talking about an age difference you got to bring into play, which I think is what, 5 years, 6 years.
I don't.
That's the only thing for me where it would mess with me with dynasty. But you're right. If I'm win now, if I'm a win 19,
Allen Robinson's
I would rather
only
take Robinson.
28.
Really?
Only 28. Turning 20.
Holy
20
hell.
Turning 29 in August.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know why I thought he was like 31. Okay. Yeah, and I think Kirk's probably 25 because he's been leading now.
Turning 20. So he's 26. So he's turning 26 in November. So he's three years. Okay. 3 years older. So I think if you're basing the age on there, I really do think you're.
And Cup's a year and a half old. Cup's a year and a half older than Robinson. Now I'm thinking about it. Then.
Yeah, I think you're undervaluing Robinson.
I'm being an ageist, and I apologize. I'll have to stop. All right. Well, then Robinson's definitely undervalued. We'll talk a bit more about. I'll go back. Robinson over Kirk.
Robinson Woods, over Juju and MVS.
Robinson over MVS, yes.
I think over Juju too. I think you have to at this point.
Yeah, you have to. You're right. You have to because you know for sure he's going to be second. He's the second person getting at least 100 targets, and Robert Woods, I don't have any interest in right now, but I think it's really good for AJ Brown.
I think Robert Woods can be a steal.
Yeah, I think he might wind up being a very good player because in the slot or on the outside, just like they wanted with Julio but couldn't do. And it helps. It gives more versatility to Ryan Tannehill, but I can't, coming off the injury, being older, I don't know if I can say like for a contender, even like that's somebody I want. And then as a rebuilding team, is that somebody I want? You know?
I mean, I think Robert Woods going to be a steal because he's only 29, by the way.
Yeah.
It just does he can have those 10 reception games. And like I just think if you're a contender, wouldn't you want to give up a third or fourth for him to have that extra flex spot?
Yeah, if you have someone willing to take a third round pick for Robert Woods, that probably is not a bad gamble at all.
Or if you're
especially maybe wait till the draft time because that's when that third round pick's gonna have a lot.
Yeah, like someone's gonna overvalue someone in third round or fourth round and be like, all right, well, give me Robert Woods. I think that's where you want to do most of your businesses in the draft, because I think Robert Woods is someone you should target for by low. Because in the end, I think he's guaranteed to have, his reception. He's going to be a wide receiver too there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. Julio Jones, we'll not worry about him. We already mentioned him being cut.
Where's he going?
Honestly, when he got cut, my first thought was Kansas City.
I think Buffalo.
My first thought was Kansas City before all this stuff happened. I think he just needs Green Bay, to be honest.
Buffalo.
You're thinking Buffalo. I don't think they'll make that move, but that'd be amazing. But Green Bay, you put Julio Jones, someone who's had red zone issues.
If he goes to either of those teams, people are going to overvalue Julio Jones again.
I think Julio's still good.
Yeah, well,
I was high on him last year, but I think it was my fault for not believing in my original thought of I don't like Ryan Tannehill. I
can't stand that guy.
Yeah, I don't like Ryan Tannehill. I've never been a fan of Ryan Tannehill. I traded Ryan Tannehill in a super flex for like a second round pick before the season started, and people were laughing at me. And now you look back at it, and I'd still rather have the second round pick. Yeah. So I don't know. I just that's where I think Tannehill is, and that's where unfortunately Julio had that issue. And I think if you put a Josh Allen, a Aaron Rodgers, put him in LA, man, dude, put him with the Rams or the Chargers. That'd be great.
No, let's not mess with that.
I'm just saying, man, he would definitely take a cheap deal to go play with one of those guys.
And he's going to take a cheap deal and go to a contender.
All right, we will run through our tight ends here.
The only tight end you should talk about is O.J. Howard. That's it.
Well, I just want to – Will Dissly, though, he got paid. I mean, he's not with Russell anymore, but he got some money. So Will Dissly, Evan Ingram, I'll be honest. I want to talk about Evan Ingram.
No fantasy. CJ,
No fantasy
Robert Tonyan, no fantasy.
OJ Howard, I agree. He is a very good stash candidate. The reason why you people gotta stash OJ Howard, if you haven't been already, I've been a big OJ Howard fan for unfortunately too many years. So he is sitting on a good amount of my dynasties.
Every year I gotta listen to you.
Like it's him, especially when Tom Brady came. Like that's ridiculous.
This is the year. Well, heard there was something on him where in training camp he was getting all the receptions over Gronk, and then he got hurt. And that's when Gronk took the stop, and that's the rest is history. And they never went back to using OJ Howard like they should have.
I'm telling you, mark my words. OJ Howard is a top 5 one of the most physical tight ends and best like finesse. Like I love what he brings to the table. He's athletic as hell. He is like Travis Kelce level. Unfortunately, the person he's now competing with, Dawson Knox, has also taken a big leap. But Dawson's a free agent next year. So if the Bills don't figure something out, if he takes another leap and they don't keep him and have to pay him some money, he might go somewhere else.
Don't they have a 50-year option?
No, he was a 3rd-round pick. He's just got his 3-year deal. So when he'll be a free agent, that's why they got OJ on a 1-year, I believe. A little bit of a prove it in case they don't keep Dawson Knox. OJ Howard could be a freaking steal.
They're going to use 2 tight end sets in Buffalo almost every play. Just get ready.
And if 12 personnel might be coming a lot. That'd be interesting. They did that a bit in Carolina with McDermott But so OJ Howard's the only one you want to talk about. You're probably accurate there. Gerald Everett's with the Chargers. I actually kind of like that one though. Gerald Everett does have.
Oh, actually, now that I saw they signed with the Chargers,
yeah, that would be a good spot. They kept Williams. They got Keenan Allen, and we've been seeing Charger tight ends do a few things. Donald Parham had a bit of a successful run. So yeah, keep an eye out for Gerald Everett. If you want to throw a third around, I'd definitely do that.
Well, Robert Tonyan should be another fantasy, late round pickup. Just because who do they have
that's true.
Green Bay?
Another 12 touchdown year might be coming, or 14, whatever that was. And Austin Hooper, we said was cut, but signed with Tennessee somewhere that loves using tight ends. We saw Ryan Tannehill have success with tight ends. He could be someone to keep an eye on, but nobody I'm throwing real concern on. So yeah, that's most of the tight ends. I said Evan Ingram. Everything's relying on Lawrence and what that new offense is going to look like. And that kind of goes with Kirk, Chenault,
and his hands,
and his hands.
Evan Ingram's hands, because he likes to drop passes.
Yeah, he does. I think that's probably been.
It's been crazy. It's been crazy. I mean,
I can't believe we have.
Do you know that
it just doesn't stop?
Calvin Ridley was suspended at least 4 months ago.
It's been a while.
That's what it feels like. It
does. It's crappy, man. He can't wait for. I think it's just over another year till he has to wait to be able to apply for reinstatement. So
I can't believe they're not even.
I'm afraid he's definitely. Yeah, I'm afraid he might definitely be gone for the whole season at least, which is frustrating. So more to come with that, I hope. Make sure you're following us on Twitter, guys. Follow me at Antonio Denisi FF. You're following Keenan at Keenan716. You're following the pod at Dynasty Mafia _FF. Make sure you check out the website, dynastymafiapodcast.network. And you check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/Dynasty Mafia Podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, to hit that bell so you know whenever we're coming on. The more likes, the merrier. Helps us out. Share, tell your friends. We appreciate everybody for coming back and listening. Any new listeners, we always appreciate you as well. No Mafia market this week. Very light on the trades. I don't think I completed one.
It's just dead time right now.
Yeah, it was focusing on basketball and a few other things around. So none of that. Yeah, definitely dead time. But next week we should have some coming through. I believe we're doing a mock draft next Sunday.
Fingers
crossed we're going to work on a mock draft.
It all depends what happens on Saturday. So
yeah, very true.
If they lose, it might not be here.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the Duke game goes. Best of luck to everybody. Happy April to you all. March came and went. We'll talk to you guys soon. All right.
Mafia out. Go Duke.